Hello and welcome to Lightning Component Development Session Day 8. This is Amit Singh, and here today we will cover what are the basic events that are available in Lightning Components, what are system events, what are the component events. Though we have covered the component events, we'll see application event. We'll also see what are the browser events available, and then we'll see the component event that shows the system event example. For example, init the constructor for the lightning component, and then value change whenever we are changing the value for any attribute. And then we will also see the lab work for the project, like we'll enhance the css and we'll be adding the image in the beer search space, and then we'll also show the records on the load of the page instead of searching. We'll also see show some default records over there, and we will add a button inform for when we'll click on that button we will be able to see the more information about the beer. So let's go ahead and start with the introduction of the events. So events in the lightning components are basically whenever we are performing any, for example, any DML, or we are making any changes on the attribute, or we are making any changes on the location. Let me go to, like, for example, here if you are making any changes here, then we also have an event. And if you are making calls to the server from the component, then we also have an event. So, and then we have some custom events that are component and application events. So before going ahead with the component application events, let's go ahead and see what are the system events and how we will work with the system events. So if you wanted to find the system events in the lightning components, you can just go ahead on the Google and type system events in lightning Salesforce. So you will get all the list of that are available here. You can see that value init, value render, oracle on waiting. So if you go to the official Salesforce site, for example, let's say part 1, then you will get some. Okay, this is not the one. You can go to this site as well. So here you can see that we have a list of, like, done rendering indicate that initial rendering of the root application is completed. Done waiting, that means if you are making any calls from the server and the call has been completed. Location change, if you are making any changes on the location, for example here we are making any changes. And no access, system error, value change, value destroyed, value edit. So here in this example we are going to see that value change and value init. So let's go ahead and see how this is working. So first what we will do, we will create a new lightning component that we will name it as event example, submit it, and first of all we will see oracle and value init. So whenever we wanted to handle any event, or we wanted to fire an event, we need to do two things, either register or handle. So for handling the system event we don't need to register, we just need to handle it. To handle the events, system events, we don't need to register, so we will be using our oracle handler. So we'll just handler, it takes 3 parameters for handling. One is name, what is the name of the event that we wanted to handle, and then what are the type, and then what is the action. So here in the name, for the name, if we wanted to initialize, that is oracle and value change, the name will always be changed. As we are handling the event whenever we are changing the value for any attribute, so we are not required the type attribute here. We will be giving the value for which attribute value we wanted to change. So before that, let's go ahead and define an attribute. Let's say that test of type string. So what we'll do, we will be handling the event whenever the value for this particular attribute is being changed, and which action we wanted to call to do change. So we will call the method do change here, and we will just say that alert value changed. And how we will change the value? For that, we will be creating a button, that is lightning colon button. A value equal to, just say that change value. For the label, put the same, and then on click we will call c dot change value. And in this method, what we'll do, we'll just set some random or some static value for the attribute test, so that we can handle see that if this particular event is being fired or not. So let's say that component.set, here it will be v.test, and we will be test value, anything, just test. So let's go ahead in the application, put the event name in the application. Instead of this, we'll be using this while we will be working on the lab work. Put that, what is the name of the component, and that is event example. Okay, so here we'll see change value. You can see that we are able to handle that method. Every time we'll click on change value, because now value is not being changed. Why? Here if you see in the controller, we are passing a static value. Once we set the value test for the first time, then the value for this test attribute is not being changed again and again. It is only changed once we are clicking on this particular button, and then it is setting as a test. So then after it's not changing. That is why we are getting only alert for the first time, and then we are not getting alert on the second time. So if you wanted to call some action based on the value, if value is being changed, and then we can use oracle and value change. And for the initialization, always in oracle and init. If you go here, you will see value init. So for this, the name will always be init, it will never change. If you wanted to call some method, some JavaScript method, or some constructor method, that is Apex class method, on the initialization of the component, that means whenever the component is being loaded, you wanted to make some controller call, server side call, you can use init method, that is name is init, that is called as value init. And it is also known as the constructor of lightning component, because in the VAPS we have constructors that performs the thing on the load of VAPS. So here in the lightning component we have value init, that we can do anything whatever we wanted to do. For the value, it will always be this, and then for the action, for example, let's say that do init. So here in the do init method, we'll just for example, we wanted to set the value for the attribute test. We can set the value over here like on init, and then in the component we can also print the value to see that if we are able to set, if we are able to call the constructor of the lightning component or not. Then if you'll refresh this, okay, we are getting G of undefined where test component is set. Okay, in the component, where is that? Or a handler's name, value this action c dot do init. This should be it. Okay, let's remove this and see if that is working or not. Okay, so that is because of this method values this, I think because of that. Okay, or a handler, sorry, it should be init. And for the value init, the names must be init. You can see value change because we are changing the value from the do init. We are saying that on init. If we'll click on value change, we are changing the value, and we will see that test over here. So this is how the system events works. There are many like oracle done waiting and oracle then rendering, oracle value render. So these are all most of the time we are dealing with the oracle done waiting, done rendering, and oracle waiting, this one. So oracle waiting and done waiting are used whenever we are making any callouts from the server. That might be a JavaScript controller method, or that might be a Apex class method. So this is these are the basic component event example. Next we will see, sorry, these are the basic system event examples. So next thing that we will see is component event. We already discussed the component event while working with the BSS controller, or while working with the contact list example in the previous tutorials. So what we will see, we will just go through with the concept of contact component event. So for this we created a such event that is of type of component. And first let me tell you very brief and small things about component. So let me open. So here component event always work with the parent child relationship. For example, this is the parent event, sorry, this is the parent component, and then this is the child component inside parent component. So what the event that is fired by this particular component will can only be handled by this parent component, parent and then child. So the event that is fired by the child component can only be handled by the parent component. That means the component event is applicable for the hierarchy level. Means we are firing the event from the child component, and then we are handling the event in the parent component. We cannot fire the event in parent component and then handle in child component. So this is the only use of component event, is that if we wanted to interact between two connected components that are connected with each other with the relationship of parent child, then only parent can handle the event that is fired by the child component. So if you what if we wanted to call child class child JavaScript controller method from the parent? We can use oracle method that we will see in our next videos. So for that we created a component by going to the file, new, and lightning event, and then we change the type as component. And there are two types, one is application and other one is component. So here we are working with the component, so we are changing the type as a component. Description, whatever you wanted to give is that, say that component event example, and then here we can also provide the attribute that we wanted to use, that we wanted to set from the child component, and then we wanted to get on the parent component. So here in the bsh controller method, then what we did, first thing we need to register the component event in the child component. So for registering the component, we have a tag that is Oracle register event that takes two parameters. One is name, you can give it any name that you like, and then type, the exact name of the event that you have provided, here in case such event, and this is the namespace because we don't have org namespace, so there is by default namespace is C. And then for firing the event in the controller, we will be using component.get event, by the name we will get here the event, and then we can set the parameters. Here the parameters that we have defined as an attribute inside the event, and we can also set, if we haven't provided the attribute here, we can also set, that is there is no boundation. If you wanted to send some other attributes without declaring here, you can also do. And then for firing, there is a method that is ComponentEvent.fire, and then what we need to do, we need to handle this event in the parent component, that is here beer explorer. You can do that for handling the same way that we saw for system event. Here that is handler, Oracle and handler, the name, the exact name that we given in the child component. Here we given beer event, it must be beer event here while, sorry, it must be beer event file handling, and then the event, the same event that we provided here for the type, and then one more attribute that is called as action that we wanted to call whenever this attribute is, whenever this event is being handled in the parent component. And here for getting, like here this method will be executed whenever the event will be fired. And then to get the parameters, there are two methods. Either we can get the whole parameters that are passed by the component while firing the event using event.getParams, or we can also get individual parameters by using event.getParam and then here giving the name of the parameter. So this is the basic example, the component event that we already saw while we are working on the previous tutorials. And then next thing is that application event. So application event, basically we use whenever we wanted our event to be handled by any component inside the application, throughout the application. We no matter if there is any relationship between the applications, between the component or not. So what is the drawback for using application event if the component are connected? Application event is basically used for the communication between the components that are inside a single Lightning application. There is no instruction, there is no restrictions, there are some security flaws because any component can handle the event. In case of component event, the only component can fire the event that has registered the event. So there are two differences between component event and application events. That is, first one is, let me clear out this. First one is that application event is used for broadcasting the things, broadcasting the message. Let's say that application is loaded or application is ready, and then component event is required to register on the child component and of course handler on the parent. But in case of application, no register event is required. So let's go ahead and see how this application event works. So what we'll do, we will be creating a new event that is called as that will be application event, that will see that AE event, and we are not going to pass any parameters. We will just see the demo. What we'll do, from our event example controller we will fire this event. So to fire the event, on click off button we will fire. So to fire the event, first thing what we need to do, we need to get the event same as we used in the component event, but for getting the event the syntax is different. So here what we'll do, that we will use variable AE event equal to, here we are going to use the utility class $a dot get. As we are going to use event, so it will be e dot, then the same concept of namespace and event name. So now doing this, what it will do, it will get the event that is name of a event, and then to fire the event we just need to use the same concept as fire. So here the catch is to get the event of application and component. For component event, what we need to do, we need to just simply use the method of component class, that is component.get event, and then give the name here. And then for firing or getting the event, what we need to do, we just need to use the utility class of $a dot get, and here this is E indicating for the event, application event, and then C is the namespace, and then A event is the name of the event that we wanted to get, and then fire method is as simple as to fire the event. And then what we'll do, we'll create a new component, new component, and we will name it as A event component. We will just handle work on a handler, and we're going to give the event as C colon A event, and then we are going to call an action, that is C dot, just say that do init. And now here in the do init we'll just alert. Application event handled. And now what we'll do, we will use these two components inside our application, that is we are already using one, we just need to include other one, that is a event, and then we'll save it. Oops, sorry, what is the name of component? I think this is the one. Okay, let's go ahead, click on change value, and you can see that application event handled. This is as simple as to work with component event, application event, or system event. The only catch, the only thing that you need to remember is to handle any kind of event that might be either component, application, or system. You just need to put the handler, that is aura handler, and to register the to register and fire the event, that is application or component, you need to take care of what kind of application event is what kind of event it is. Let's say that if this particular event is of component event, then you need to register the event that we saw in case of beer search. And if this is the application event, you just need to get the event using the utility class, or if you wanted to fire the parameters, you can just set the parameters like here we set for the component using set params, and then you can fire using the fire method. And in case of component, you just need to register, get the event, and then fire it. That's it. So what you need to remember is that okay, in case of application event, you need to register the event in child component. Sorry, in case of component event, you need to register the event in the child component, get the event in controller using component.getEvent method, and then fire the event. And now what you need to do, then handle the event, in parent component. In case of application event, what you need to do, get the event in component controller using $a.get method, and that will be having e.c colon name of event, fire the event, handle the event in any component inside the same application. So this is for this is for component event. And then this is for application. So now let me show you one thing. What will happen if I remove the component that is handling the application event? Now if I'm clicking on the button, nothing is happening because can't read property fire of undefined. Why? Because we have removed the component that is handling the application event, and so if you we will try to fire the event that is not being handled in any component, we will get the error. We will get the event as an undefined in the JavaScript controller. So this is why if you will not use the application inside use the component inside the same application, you will not be able to execute, you will not be able to fire the application event. So this was all about application and component events. Yeah, we will talk about browser events. What are the browser events? We are already working on those. Let's say that for the beer search, we are already using the event that is on change, that is browser event, on click, on double click, on hover, on mouse over, on focus out, mouse in. So these are all mouse event that we are already working on. Someone that's on change, we can also work on focus. So these are all browser events. We are already working on these things. On click, that is also a browser event. Next is so next thing is that what we'll do, we already saw the example of application event, the component event, and then system events. So now what we'll do, we will do our exercise. So before doing that, let's go ahead and remove these components that we don't need here. In the application, just comment these component, and here we will uncomment this search. So what we will do, first we will create a static resource. In that we will be storing the image for beer, so that we can show a demo image for all the beers. So for that I already created a static resource that is called as beer img, and inside that I'm using image that you can see here. You can also Google it from the Google, and then you can use that your own image. So I downloaded this image from Google and then upload this as a static resource. Now what we'll do, we will use this image in our lightning component to show the beer image with each beer record that we are showing in the lightning code. Before that, what we'll do, now here you can see that we are not able to see any beer record. What we'll do, first we will add a oracle and value init inside beer explorer object, so that we can show some by default record listed on the beer search or beer explorer application. So what we will add an handler that we already saw for the system int example as a constructor, and then for the action we are going to call I don't think we need to create another action. We can call this, and let's see if you are able to get the record. If you'll not, we'll make some changes. Oops, why? So let's go ahead to the application and we'll see we are sending some parameters over here, and here let's say which class is associated with that. Go to the Aura service apex, open that. Okay, so here we are sending a search param. So what we are doing, we are filtering the record with the parameters that we are sending. So in case of init, we don't have any parameter that we are sending. So what we'll do, we'll put a check over here on if this is not equal to null, else. So we will use to query over here. So we'll define query here, oops, as a blank, and then here we will use query. So if parameter is not null, then we are using the query with the parameter as a like parameter. If the parameter is null, then we are using the simple query for getting the 10 records. So now let's go ahead and refresh the page. See, we are able to, yep, now here we are able to see the records. By default there are 10 records, 4 on each row. So here we are already able to see the image. Let me show you the code that where we added this image. So let's go to the beer list component, as we are showing all the beer here in the beer list component. So here you can see inside the lightning card I added a division tag that is for the grid 1 of 3, and then the other one, whatever the record we are showing, that 2 of 3. So basically what we are doing, we are creating a grid of 3 items in a row, where this will contains 2 items, and then this will contains only 1 item. So to use the resource, static resource in the lightning component, we use the same concept that we do in the VFPs, that is $resource, then the name of the resource, and then the concept as same curly braces, inside curly braces with exclamation mark. So this is the way we can use the images over here. If you wanted to give some styling like a border radius or changing the opacity of the background image, you can also change. So now what we'll do, we will add some more fields on the detail page. Like here we are saying showing the ID that doesn't mean anything. So let's go ahead on the setup object manager, and here we will see the beer, and in the fields, so we have different things like alcohol, brewery ID, name, ID, image. So what we'll do, we will put all these fields inside the query over here, like alcohol. Let's go. Yep, that's it. Brewery ID, name, oops, then ID, we don't need image, price, remaining quantity tag, ID, price, remaining quantity, tags, and then total quantity. Adding both. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it. So now what will show, what information will display? Name, and then ID, and what is the alcohol percentage. So here, go to the beer list component. Here you can see we just need to show the name, ID, and then now we'll use br tag, and here we will use item dot alcohol. Now let's go ahead and refresh this. Okay, you can see that name, ID, and what is the alcohol percentage. So as of now in the detail we are not able to identify that either it is name, what is this, what are number 8. So what we'll do, we'll just put name, ID, and then alcohol percentage. Save it and refresh this. Now this is okay, that name, ID, alcohol percentage. Okay, so now also let's remove this from the footer part, and in the footer what we'll add, we will add brewery name, and we don't need to specify that what we are showing on the brewery name. So let's, where is the footer? Here. One more thing we will also do, that we will add actions, or a colon set attribute equal to actions. That means we are going to add a lightning button over here, so that on the click of lightning button we will open a modal that will display all the information related with this clicked next, in which I will click the beer. We will click the beer, it will pops up a modal that will display all the information, what are the remaining quantity, what are the price, all those things. And then on the pop-up will also show order now button that will take to a new page for creating an order, and then also detect the remaining quantity as per the order, whatever the quantity are being ordered by the user. So here we will creating the label as a view detail, and then value with the same, on click, as we are not going to implement today, so we are leaving it blank. For the variant, just give it as a brand so that we can see the blue button. Let's go ahead and refresh this. You can, oops, you're not able to see the button. It's a very okay, nice. That will also do. It's a link that we can click on view details to go. So let's go ahead and put on click event over here and see that show info, c dot info. Click on the controller. As of now we haven't, and here. So first what we need to do, we need to get the ID of the beer record so that we can get the information, or we need to get the complete beer. So how we will get to know, we will see on the next video how we will implement the model as well in the next video. So hope you learn something new in this video, like system event, component events and application events, and how we will use a static resource in our lightning component. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you guys, thank you for watching the video. To get the updates, please like, subscribe and share the videos as well. Thank you.